And Justice for All, Metallica's most controversial album. Well, their most controversial good album. It was their last big contribution to the world of proper metal, yet it has divided opinions in the metal community for decades. For some, it's their favourite 80s Metallica album, but for others, it's the worst one by far. Why this split? How can an objectively good album have such divided opinions? Where did the bass go? Well, in this video, we'll be answering those questions. What does Justice do well? What does it do not so well? Well, strap in, folks, and get ready for a deep dive into And Justice for All. The year is 1986, and Metallica have just released their latest album, Master of Puppets, one of the best metal albums ever, and the album that cemented them as metal legends forever. However, soon after, their current bassist, Cliff Burton, was tragically killed in a bus accident. This obviously had a huge effect on the band, and you can really hear that effect on the Justice album. It feels different in nature to Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, which are both pretty comparable. Like, Master is almost the more mature version, and Ride the Lightning is a rawer, younger version of a similar sort of thing. Justice, however, feels a lot different. For one, it is a lot more proggy and even groovy than any previous Metallica record, but also the entire feel and vibe of the album and how it is presented. You can really feel the rawness and emotion of the band coming through. The album's cover depicts an old, cracked Lady Justice, with her scales tipped by dollar bills and her sword broken. This depicts the theme of the album, justice, or rather, injustice, which is also relevant as it reflects the injustice the band experienced losing Cliff. And you can really hear the musical and stylistic changes they made on the record in order to get what they were going for. Some popular songs on the album are Blackened, One, the ballad of the album, and the title track. Blackened is the album's opener and is one of the more thrashy songs on the album. We are straight away introduced to something this album does a lot: the juxtaposition of a softer melodic part and a powerful heavy part. Obviously, Metallica albums before this have done this as well. However, they always feel more like this section of the song is heavy, then we transition and this section is soft, then we transition and then this section is heavy again. Whereas on Justice, these transitions are far more abrupt and even interwoven, like on the title track, where it plays a melodic riff, then a heavy riff, then a melodic riff. There is nothing like that, or contrast to that extent, on any other album before this. It kind of gives the album this almost jarring, sporadic feel, being serenaded by a nice clean guitar, only to moments later be plunged into a heavy fucking riff, to then be listening to a nice melodic part again. While some of these transitions do flow quite well, the sheer frequency of them still has its effect. They are also coupled with more jarring and less flowy transitions as well. It serves the album well though, contributes to the overall roughness and rawness the album has. Another thing the album does a lot is time signature changes and tempo changes, something that was not used anywhere near as much on previous records as it is here. These, as well as the even more lengthy songs than usual, contributes to the prog feeling the album has. This, combined with the switching melody and heaviness, also gives the album this kind of jagged, stop-start feeling, and the contrast makes the heavy, complicated, time-changing parts even better. You can really feel the emotion coming through. Lots of these parts feel angry and are put directly next to some nice, beautiful, clean guitar work. It is a bit messy, what with all the frequent mood and style changes, as well as the time signature changes and the tempo changes. However, it serves the album well though, obviously being done intentionally to give the album the vibe it has. However, that does not mean that it is to everyone's taste. This could account for the split in opinion on the album. Some like it, some don't, and prefer less stop-start changing, sporadic proggy music. Now, for the bass. If you have ever listened to the And Justice for All album, you will have noticed something strange: the complete and total lack of bass. Jason Newsted, Cliff Burton's replacement, was basically muted on this album. The story goes that in the mixing process for Justice, they are trying to get everything to sound right, and are going a bit back and forth on some things. But when they're done with that and get to the bass, Lars goes, "Now I want you to drop the bass down to a level where you can barely audibly hear it." And that's exactly what happened. Now, there are two explanations for this. The first is that Jason's the new guy, right? And the band are obviously upset about Cliff. And their treatment of Jason throughout his years in Metallica weren't the best because of this. So this could be another example of that. Some people might say it's because they might not have been sure about Jason's ability in comparison to Cliff's, but this is irrelevant. Cliff is obviously one of the best bassists of all time, so the hard truth is that they were never going to find someone as good as he was. But that does not mean that Jason was bad. No, obviously he was a perfectly capable bassist. After all, it was Metallica who picked him, so he must be pretty good. But another, perhaps more valid argument that could be made is about the tone of the album. The lack of bass really makes the guitars and drums boom in the mix and gives them this feeling of rawness. But here on this album, that feeling fits quite well with everything else that's happening and emphasizes the feel of the album further. So, could it have been a stylistic choice to achieve a certain tone and feel on the album? Or did they just want to be rude to Jason? I don't know. You can decide that one for yourself. So, was it good? Bad? Well, I think the album does what it sets out to do very well, being a bit different from other Metallica albums like Pride and Master, and pushing their songwriting skills in terms of mood shifts and tempo changes to their limit. These all serve the album well in what it's going for. The jagged, sharp, yet at times beautiful feeling the album puts across are all very much in line with the themes and messages of the album. And the lack of bass is unfortunate, but may very well contribute to that feeling. So, it really depends if you like all that stuff or not. The answer is it's different. It's different to Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets because of the different musical and stylistic choices the band made. Does this mean it's bad? No, of course not. That's why lots of people like it. But what it does mean is that there will also be lots of people who prefer the other 80s Metallica albums instead. And so there will always be this split of opinion depending on which style of Metallica you prefer. Well, I've been Sam. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like. It really helps the video out. Bye.